Hi, everybody, and welcome to our broadcast, a short meditation on climate change. There has been a little confusion. I thought that this was going to be a Zoom cast because Tuya is not able at this time to do broadcasts from the Little Bear Meditation Center, but I was informed only a very short time ago that it was still listed as a broadcast. So I will do my best with it, and hopefully, even though we have to meditate in the silence without music, that we will get the point and go deeply enough to understand the implications of these trying times. Now, the image before you is one we have used before, and it really tells us of a possible utopia and the flourishing of human society under climatic conditions which assist the welfare of so many people and the possibility of a dystopia. Dystopian visions have been very prominent of late. So obviously, in the back of humanity's mind, and even in the forefront, comes that negative anticipation that we may be heading for a climate change induced collapse of human society, with implication for billions of people. Now, sometimes we might think, well, it can't touch me. Many of us, we live in the Western countries, or relatively rich countries, and we seem to be able to handle what is thrown at us. But even here in Europe, in the United States, the elements are out of control. Earthquakes are occurring at an alarming rate. Now, DK said there would be these changes. Yes, there would be earth changes in the next 1,000 years or so, but they are happening in a way that catches us unprepared. The oceans are rising due to the melting. and flooding is out of control. It will, if it persists, take away the reasonable living conditions of millions of people. Fires are blazing as they never have before, or only very rarely. And the general warming tendencies caused by the use of coal, fossil fuels, are causing conditions over the waters which bring a series of hurricanes and typhoons which are wiping out people's possibility of living a wholesome life. So we have a choice. Now I just want to say, sorry, and may we reflect thoughtfully that the United Nations meeting on climate change is coming right up, I think in Glasgow, Scotland, on the 2nd of November, and lasting perhaps a week. Already there are nations that are refusing to attend. And if the selfishness of humanity sorry, would prevail, then some of our last chances of correcting what might become an irreversible climatic disintegration will have escaped us. I was just reading where Putin will not be attending the this climate summit, we might call it. He has his reasons, but with the new technology, we see a tremendous amount of methane gas being released into the atmosphere across Russia and maybe especially in Siberia. And this was all claimed not to be happening, but the technology has so improved that the release, heating the earth, the release of the methane, melting the permafrost, can be detected. Maybe he doesn't want to be subject to that kind of assessment. And we all know that the former administration was very much against the care of climatic conditions across the world, denying them, denying these changes, which are mostly having a dangerous and deleterious effect. I guess it all boils down to humanity's selfishness or the ability to think in terms of the welfare of other millions, other than oneself. It's the same thing with the pandemic. People refuse to have their so-called freedoms infringed, caring little about what might be the results upon others. Humanity is going through a great test of selfishness or selflessness, and we don't know how it will turn out at this time. We have hopes that humanity will awaken before it's just too late to avoid ongoing catastrophe. Notice how the word astro is in that word, catastrophe, because many of these things, of course, are controlled by the planets and stars, and when big initiatory opportunities come along for a planet, there's no way, I think, to avoid the concurrent disruption, just as it is avoided, or just as it is guaranteed in the life of the individual disciple, or in the life of his groups. There's a lot to handle, and no wonder the Tibetan tells us that humanity alone and unaided will not be able to solve its problems, and then will invoke the creativity of the spiritual hierarchy in the various planetary centers. The masters, the high initiates, they will be called upon to assist. Well, in a way, you can see us hurtling toward that kind of situation. So again, the choice is with us. We have now had the ingress into the sign Scorpio as of 4:20 a.m. GMT this morning. And it is a drastic sign, in many ways the sign of the expressive human monads through the fourth or ninth creative hierarchy. It seems a good time to get down to serious business. Of course, Sirius itself is connected with Scorpio and with Mars. It's a sign in which certain attitudes that don't work have to be set aside so that a better future for all can appear. But meanwhile, the fires are raging. The waters are overflowing their proper containment, just as in the white magical process when the Agnusurians are out of control. The storms are in process, and not only humanity but lightning is starting the fires. And due to our neglect of the warming trends that we are responsible for, the hurricanes and typhoons, the winds are more powerful, out of control, and sweeping through populated areas, causing tremendous damage and long recovery times. Now, ask yourself, is this an acceptable world from your perspective? There will be enough disruption anyway from the initiatory process, just as exists within the life of the individual who is taking the initiations of the threshold. It seems so filled, the process seems so filled with opportunity, and yet it is disruptive. So what can we do about that? Well, of course, we are letting our own selfishness determine our attitude towards an inevitable climate change. We are worsening the situation. It's not all mankind. It's not all to be laid at the doorstep of humanity, but we could control much of it and bring the elements into balance instead of having them run over us and ruin our way of life. If we do think that we will not be touched because we are somehow safe and insulated, it is not true. Everyone on the planet will be touched. If we don't take this necessary correction seriously, because we care about our planet, because we care about each other. Well, it is true that maybe some of us don't care very much about the welfare of the planet. We have the illusion that we live but once. Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow ye die. These were the ironic, sarcastic words of Paul, says the Tibetan. We can see how what we think, the values we hold, all combine to make our planet livable and supportive of a better way of life, or quite the opposite. And now it all comes to a head before the great conclave of 2025. Maybe we could be a little bit historical and look at the conclave of 1925 and see all the developments which occurred in the 100 years or so since that time. Wars everywhere, new understanding of physical and astronomical reality, a whole understanding of quantum relations, entirely new and revolutionary modes of communication. A careful examination would reveal that 1925 stimulated tremendous developments, including the movement of especially the 246 ashrams onto the Buddhic plain, and thus a connection of that energy of pure reason, of love, wisdom, more intimately with humanity. Yes, violence in the environment is predictable due to a kind of fourth subsidiary initiation, which our planet is undergoing. But why be so thoughtless as to compound the problem? It has to be because of a truly selfish and materialistic sense of values. materialism, in short, which is really a superficial way of looking at things. You see those smokestacks. When I was a child, maybe 10, 11, 12 years old, uh, I was frequently taken from Chicago to Hammond, Indiana, and there was less understanding of what pollution was. And for 20 minutes, a half hour, the car drove through exactly this kind of pollution. These smokestacks belching red toxic smoke and no remedy, no awareness somehow that it was a great danger. Well, now we have increasing awareness of the danger. And it's a question of what you, what I, consider to be essential or non-essential. Are our materialistic desires the essential? How often do we give in to these superficial materialistic desires, which are, in the words of the Tibetan, really wrecking the world? And if we wreck the world, we'll have to start again to see, as the Tibetan says, whether there could not be raised up a humanity which would truly conform to divine law. So although the materialists among us want to throw aside the consideration of climate change as something remote and maybe even non-existent, the thoughtful people, the scientists who concentrate on these matters, know that that is not an accurate assessment. They know we are all in danger. They know that areas of the earth are very close to becoming uninhabitable, and that problems of culture and migration will all play into the problem. So here in just a few days, a week or so, a little more, the United States, United Nations Climate Change Conference. And it would be a good thing for us to, at that time, meditate esoterically in support of good decisions emerging from the meetings, the discussions, the coming together. Yes, there will be those who reject anything that might be going on there, but they really are known for their selfish superficiality. We do live on a beautiful planet, actually and potentially. There's no reason, no sane reason we have to destroy this planet and its kingdoms. We don't have to do that. But if you live but once, you know, as they say, grab everything you can, and he with the most toys wins. Wins what? Wins a condition of protection of the lower ego. How very short-sighted and pitiful a sense of values that nature is. There are those today who struggle to implement higher values even though they are opposed by many thoughtless people. Who are driven by a kind of instinctual telepathy. By feeling without thought. It's hard for people who care about the planet to gain real support. From the selfish and superficial. I was reading that regarding the vaccine, a woman said, I think she was a healthcare worker too, that if God came down and told her to take the vaccine, she still wouldn't do it. Where does that kind of insanity come from? And what a sacrifice it is for those who see better and further and deeper to insist on doing the right thing. It's so sad when you see people engaged in a slow form of suicide, of cultural suicide. For what reason? Because they are adolescent in their mentality? Not everybody is endowed with the same type of experience. The attitude of the unreasoning rebel afflicts so many and is stimulated by those manipulators on the left-hand path. So, we know what to do. We've just got to do it. From the present president despite the changes, the many changes which are inseparable from some degree of suffering, we can help to restore, protect and restore our ecosystems. And if we wait too long for whatever selfish or negligent reasons, we won't be able to do that. And will suffer the consequences of our negligence. We can. It's within our range of possibilities. Build defenses, warning systems, and a resilient infrastructure instead of just watching the demolition, the decay, the decaying of our present infrastructure and conditions. These are things we can do. It's always good to separate what we can do from what is hopelessly beyond our capabilities. People of goodwill and intelligence are gathering literally to save the planet. It used to be almost a kind of joke that people set forth to save the planet. But now, with the consequences of destructive climate change upon us, it's a true activity, saving the planet. We can, if heart-centered telepathy is at work, as it must be, and as DK is training us to have it be, we can work together. Instead of in a conflicted and contrary manner. We can coordinate our approach to saving this planet, or at least preventing it from becoming a dystopian ruin. If we care enough, and who's to say that we do, we can do our esoteric a bit to make things better. Gathering together, heart to heart, mind to mind, caring about each other, and the creation as a whole. Yes, we can do that. We can pull in the great indigo ray of love wisdom, with its universal care for each other and all the different kingdoms. We can live increasingly in this indigo. And all this we can do under the impression of the Lord Maitreya, who has such heavy responsibilities at this time to help bring humanity through its trials until indeed there is triumph. We have gathered in your name, Lord Maitreya. Be with us. Be within us. What does it mean to work in His name? Because He for whom the whole world waits has said that whatsoever shall be asked in His name, with faith in the response, will see it accomplished. What does working in His name, under His name, really mean? Maybe we should ask the Tibetan, because he works in and under the name of the great Lord, who he considers his master, and in relation to whom he numbers himself as, quote, one of the humblest of the friends of the Christ. Usually those upon the wisdom line are in that category of the friends of the Christ. We can so cultivate our meditative life, our conscious life, that we really know what it is to work properly. And not in fear, and not in selfishness. None of the great problems confronting humanity today will give in to fear or selfishness. We have the cooperation of great beings working with us. We can't forget that. Not only masters, not only Chohans such as the Christ and the Buddha, but beings who were even planetary logoi in the previous major solar system. So there is reason for confidence. Reason to understand that we can be elevated. So again, let us inwardly or outwardly pronounce these promising words. He for whom the whole world waits has said that whatsoever shall be asked in his name, and with faith in the response, will see it accomplished. The task, of course, is to learn how to ask in his name. What would we ask? And then the world that we all look forward to can be built, and our planet can at last become a sacred planet, which inwardly we are told it already is. We just have to take the responsibility and develop a true sense of spiritual values. and of course live up to the great invocation, that great shambolic mantram released to humanity when Christ announced his sacrifice to appear in person. From the point of light within the mind of God, let light stream forth into the minds of men. Let light descend on earth. From the point of love within the heart of God, let love stream forth into the hearts of men. May Christ return to earth. From the center, where the will of God is known, let purpose guide the little wills of men, the purpose which the masters know and serve. From the center, which we call the race of men, let the plan of love and light work out, and may it seal the door where evil dwells. Let light and love and power restore the plan on earth. Oh. Friends, better days are ahead if we can, as Master Moria tells us, imitate the Christ, not worship him, but imitate him. If we can receive the telepathic impressions that are sent via the hierarchy to the new group of world servers. If we can keep alive in our minds, hearts, and souls what we are really trying to do esoterically, and remain faithful to that cause. If our sense of spiritual values is such that occult meditation and expression between the soul, mind, and brain can be brought into some sort of fruition. We are building the chalice of the Christ consciousness for humanity. We can do that if we care, if we care enough. So we will respond to this cry for help. We cannot expect that others will be the ones who do it if we do not help as we can help. So thank you for being here. I'm sorry that I could not use any music. It was just a question of charging the place where the music came from. And that was not possible under the circumstances. So we will continue offering what we can for the assimilation of everyone and the application of what Master DK has taught us to apply. Thank you for your attendance. And, well, just thank you. We'll be in touch. Many blessings and continued labor, continued selfless labor on the part of all of us. Bye for now.